The world 700,000 years ago was a place of relentless challenge, a landscape sculpted by shifting ice sheets and merciless climate swings. Imagine standing on the edge of a frozen plain, the wind biting through whatever thin coverings you have, the horizon broken only by jagged mountains and the skeletal outlines of trees struggling to survive. Life was raw, unfiltered, and unforgiving. Early humans did not live in the safety of cities or amidst the comfort of abundance. Every day was a delicate negotiation with the elements, a struggle to find warmth, sustenance, and shelter. Amidst this harshness, survival was never guaranteed. Food was scarce, and water sources could disappear with the turn of a season. Predators lurked in every shadow, from the nimble wolves to massive carnivorous beasts that could topple even the hardiest human if caught unprepared. But humans endured. They did not merely survive. They adapted, innovated, and thrived in ways that would define our species for millennia. Now pause and consider. If you were thrust into this world without modern tools, electricity, or agriculture, what would you do to survive? Would you rely on hunting, foraging, or the unexpected resources nature might provide? This question is not merely academic. It is the key to understanding a pivotal chapter in human history, a chapter where ingenuity and resilience were not optional, but essential. Archaeological evidence paints vivid pictures of small human bands huddled, near hearths, sharing knowledge and skills, constantly learning to stretch their resources further. These were communities that discovered ingenious ways to extract nutrition from sources long considered marginal, turning scarcity into opportunity. Every stone tool, every controlled flame, and every cautious exploration of new terrain was a calculated gamble against nature's indifference. The story of life 700,000 years ago is not only a story of struggle, but also of the surprising solutions early humans devised to endure. It is a story that challenges us to reconsider what survival truly means. And as we embark on this journey into the past, I invite you to engage. If you were in their place, what would have been your most valuable strategy to outlast the harshest seasons? If this glimpse into the edge of human endurance fascinates you, make sure to hit like and share your thoughts in the comments, because the journey has only just begun. 700,000 years ago, the Earth was a planet, in constant flux, a world where ice advanced and retreated like the slow pulse of a living organism. Vast glaciers carved deep valleys into the continents, reshaping rivers and plains with each unyielding advance. The Pleistocene climate was not merely cold, it was unpredictable, brutal, and merciless. One season could bring sudden blizzards that buried landscapes in snow, while another might expose parched plains under a relentless sun. For early humans, every day demanded vigilance, ingenuity, and a profound understanding of their environment. Imagine navigating through a terrain where familiar landmarks vanished under sheets of ice, or where previously bountiful riverbeds ran dry. The flora and fauna adapted to these changes, migrating or hibernating, forcing humans to adapt in turn. They could no longer rely on consistency. Survival depended on reading the land, predicting the movements of game, and exploiting even the smallest niches of resources. It was an era where knowledge became a weapon, a currency, and a lifeline. This relentless climate shaped not only human movement, but also their social structures. Small bands of humans needed to cooperate, sharing information about safe paths, water sources, and edible plants. The harsh conditions accelerated the development of tools and fire use, transforming survival into an intricate dance between human ingenuity and environmental challenge. The unpredictable world demanded flexibility, creativity, and an uncanny ability to anticipate the whims of nature. Yet, even in this frozen or arid wilderness, life persisted. Plants adapted to short-growing seasons, and animals developed strategies to survive long winters or scorching summers. Humans learned to exploit these adaptations, observing patterns, storing food, and turning marginal resources into sustenance. The climate of the Pleistocene was not just a backdrop. It was an active force shaping the evolution, movement, and very existence of early human populations. In understanding this harsh environment, we gain insight into the remarkable resilience of our ancestors. They thrived not despite the climate, but because they learned to read, respect, and manipulate it in ways that remain astonishing to modern observers. Their survival was a testament to adaptability, foresight, and the beginnings of strategic thinking that would echo through the millennia. In the shadow of glaciers and beneath the vast, open skies of the Pleistocene, early humans honed the traits that would define their species. Survival demanded more than brute strength. It required ingenuity, observation, and the subtle mastery of the environment. Their hands, capable of crafting intricate tools, became extensions of their minds, shaping stone into blades, points, and scrapers that turned raw landscapes into sources of sustenance. Every tool carried a story of necessity, each curve and edge a reflection of human foresight. But adaptation was not limited to tools alone. Fire, a flickering but revolutionary force, became humanity's most versatile ally. It offered warmth against icy winds, protection from predators, and a method to transform raw, often unpalatable foods into nourishing meals. The controlled flame extended days into evenings, creating spaces for social interaction, knowledge sharing, and planning the next day's survival strategies. Physical and cognitive traits evolved hand in hand. The development of endurance, precise coordination, and acute sensory awareness allowed humans to track animals over vast distances, recognize subtle signs in the environment, and exploit fleeting opportunities for food. Eyes learned to detect slight changes in terrain, noses to sense distant water, and minds to remember patterns of migration and seasonal shifts. Together, these adaptations formed a toolkit far more complex than any single artifact. Yet perhaps the most defining adaptation was social. Small bands of humans relied on cooperation and communication, pooling knowledge to increase collective chances of survival. Roles emerged, some specialized in hunting, others in gathering, while elders became custodians of wisdom. Language, gestural communication, and shared rituals strengthened bonds, ensuring that strategies for survival were passed down, refined, and expanded across generations. Imagine navigating a frozen tundra, with every sound of movement potentially signaling prey or predator. Success depended on reading not just the physical environment, but the behaviors of both animals and companions. The ability to collaborate, to plan, and to innovate transformed these early humans from mere survivors into pioneers of a world fraught with peril. Through these adaptations, physical, cognitive, and social, early humans carved out a fragile yet persistent presence. Their ingenuity in the face of extreme adversity set the foundation for what would become a story of relentless exploration, innovation, and eventual mastery over even the harshest of landscapes. Amid the relentless search for sustenance, early humans stumbled upon a surprising ingredient, something overlooked by many but crucial for survival. Imagine walking through a sparse landscape, the ground littered with remnants of past seasons, when suddenly a hidden resource appears, nutrient-rich marrow within bones, resilient tubers that persist through harsh winters, or even protein-packed insects that thrive where larger animals cannot. These discoveries were not accidental. They were the product of careful observation, trial, and a willingness to experiment with what the environment provided. This ingredient became more than a mere supplement. It was a lifeline. It offered concentrated nutrition, sustaining small bands of humans when game was scarce and plant resources limited. The ability to extract and utilize such foods marked a turning point in human evolution, demonstrating a profound understanding of ecosystems and the value of resources that others might dismiss. It was a testament to human ingenuity, transforming scarcity into opportunity. Fire often played a pivotal role in unlocking these hidden treasures. Bones cracked open to reveal marrow, roots roasted to release sugars, and insects cooked to improve digestibility. Through these techniques, early humans maximized every calorie, every nutrient, turning survival into an art of efficiency and innovation. Each discovery strengthened social bonds, as knowledge about these resources was shared, passed down, and refined across generations. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect was the adaptability this knowledge afforded. As climates shifted and familiar food sources vanished, humans could pivot to these unexpected ingredients, bridging the gap between starvation and survival. Their diets became flexible, resilient, and imaginative, a reflection of the same ingenuity that had allowed them to navigate treacherous landscapes and relentless predators. Think about it. What would you consider a surprising ingredient if you were trying to survive in a world with limited food? Early humans' ability to exploit overlooked resources offers a glimpse into a mindset that prioritized survival above all else, blending creativity, observation, and sheer courage. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think was the most vital hidden resource that kept humanity alive during these harsh times? The vast landscapes of the Pleistocene were dominated not only by humans but also by giants, megafauna whose presence shaped ecosystems and human behavior alike. Mammoths trudged across icy plains, their massive forms casting long shadows under pale sunlight. Saber-toothed cats prowled silently through forests, their hunting strategies honed over millennia. For early humans, these creatures were both a threat and a resource, demanding respect, observation, and cunning. Encounters with megafauna were high-stakes events. Hunting required careful planning, knowledge of animal behavior, and often collaboration across entire human bands. A single mistake could mean death, yet success brought a bounty unmatched by smaller game. Meat, hides, bones, and sinew became central to survival. Meat for sustenance, hides for clothing and shelter, bones for tools, and sinew for crafting weapons and bindings. Humans learned to exploit these creatures with precision, transforming danger into opportunity. Beyond direct hunting, megafauna shaped the very strategies humans employed for survival. Seasonal migrations of large herds dictated human movement, while predation pressures influenced shelter placement and nighttime vigilance. Observing these giants taught early humans about the rhythms of the natural world. The subtle cues in behavior, the migration patterns, and the interactions among predators and prey. Knowledge became power, and survival depended on leveraging it. Yet, not all encounters were violent. Humans observed, adapted, and sometimes even coexisted with these enormous species. By understanding patterns and limits, they could exploit the landscape without overextending themselves, ensuring a balance that sustained both predator and prey populations. These interactions laid the groundwork for ecological intelligence, a deep, instinctive understanding of the delicate web of life that early humans navigated with remarkable skill. Through the lens of these encounters, we glimpse the resilience and ingenuity of early humans. Survival was never passive. It was an active negotiation with the giants of the Pleistocene, a constant test of skill, patience, and strategy. Their ability to turn encounters with megafauna into sustainable advantage illustrates the remarkable adaptability that would define human history for millennia to come. In the relentless struggle against a world of scarcity and unpredictability, fire became humanity's most transformative ally. It was more than warmth against icy winds or a deterrent against prowling predators. It was a tool that redefined what it meant to survive. With flames flickering against the dark backdrop of the Pleistocene night, humans discovered that heat could turn raw, often indigestible foods into sustenance that nourished both body and mind. Fire allowed early humans to preserve food in ways that had previously been impossible. Meat could be roasted or smoked to extend its usability beyond the immediate hunt. Roots and tubers could be baked to unlock hidden sugars, while insects and small animals could be cooked to maximize protein absorption. Through careful management of flames, humans stretched the life of their resources, transforming fleeting abundance into prolonged sustenance. The mastery of fire also enabled humans to venture into regions that would have otherwise been inhospitable. Cold climates, dangerous landscapes, and long nights became manageable challenges, as fire provided both physical and psychological security. Around the hearth, small communities gathered, sharing stories, teaching skills, and planning future forays into the unforgiving world. These moments of shared warmth strengthened social bonds and became crucibles of innovation. Furthermore, fire offered a subtle but powerful advantage in food safety. Cooking neutralized certain pathogens and toxins, reducing risk and increasing the range of edible options. Humans were no longer strictly bound to what could be eaten raw. They expanded their diets, experimented with new ingredients, and discovered combinations that maximized nutrition. Each spark of flame was a step toward adaptability, a quiet revolution that allowed survival in the face of uncertainty. The Pleistocene night, once a realm of vulnerability, became a stage where humans could exercise ingenuity and strategy. Fire was not merely a tool, it was a symbol of resilience, foresight, and mastery over nature's constraints. It transformed scarcity into opportunity, danger into possibility, and cold into warmth. In harnessing this elemental force, early humans secured not only their survival, but also laid the foundation for the technological advances that would echo through the ages. In a world where resources shifted with the seasons and landscapes were constantly reshaped by glaciers and droughts, early humans became master navigators of the land. Survival demanded more than mere endurance. It required an intimate understanding of the environment, the ability to read subtle signs, and the foresight to anticipate changes before they became threats. Humans tracked herds, followed rivers, and mapped seasonal patterns, turning migration into a strategy for survival rather than a desperate flight from scarcity. Bands moved across vast territories, guided by knowledge accumulated over generations. The footprints of animals, the timing of plant growth, the flow of water, every detail was a clue in the complex puzzle of survival. Migration was not random, wandering. It was a carefully orchestrated rhythm, synchronizing human activity with the cycles of nature. These movements shaped social structures, strengthened alliances, and ensured that knowledge about resources was passed along and preserved. This tracking was as much about patience and observation as it was about stamina. Humans learned to anticipate where game would congregate, where edible plants would emerge, and where seasonal threats lurked. They became acute readers of the landscape, attuned to patterns invisible to those untrained in survival. The ability to foresee scarcity and relocate accordingly became a lifeline, bridging the gap between life and death in the harsh Pleistocene world. Yet migration was not without risk. Traversing unfamiliar terrain meant encountering predators, unpredictable weather, and other human groups competing for the same resources. Every decision carried weight. One miscalculation could jeopardize the entire band. And yet, these challenges forged resilience, innovation, and a remarkable understanding of ecosystems that allowed humans to thrive where few other species could. Consider the extraordinary skill it took to navigate these landscapes. Would you have been able to track resources and survive across such vast, perilous terrain. Early humans' ability to adapt their movements to the rhythms of nature is a testament to their ingenuity and foresight. Share your thoughts in the comments. How do you think humans decided which paths to take and which risks were worth facing during these migrations? In the harsh and unpredictable world of the Pleistocene, survival was never an individual endeavor. Early humans recognized that their greatest advantage lay not in solitary skill but in the collective knowledge of the group. Around flickering fires and within simple shelters, communities became crucibles of innovation, education, and strategy. Skills were taught, lessons were learned, and experiences were shared, ensuring that each member of the band could contribute to the survival of all. Storytelling was not mere entertainment. It was a vital tool for passing on critical knowledge. Tales of hunting techniques, migratory routes, safe plants, and hidden dangers were encoded into narratives that transcended generations. Elders became living libraries, their memories preserving strategies honed over centuries. Through this social learning, humans could avoid mistakes previously fatal and replicate techniques that had proven effective in the unforgiving environment. Cooperation extended beyond knowledge transfer. Task division allowed bands to operate efficiently. Some focused on hunting, others on gathering or tending to children and the infirm. These roles were fluid, adapting to the immediate needs of the community and the shifting challenges of the environment. By leveraging the diverse skills within their group, humans maximized their chances of survival in conditions that would have overwhelmed solitary individuals. Shared experience also fostered innovation. Observing one another's successes and failures inspired new tools, techniques, and strategies. Fire was not only used for warmth or cooking, but for protection, signaling, and crafting. Weapons evolved as collaborative ingenuity transformed simple stones and sticks into effective instruments of survival. Knowledge, once shared, became a springboard for collective adaptation. The Pleistocene community was a network of minds and bodies intertwined with the land, animals, and seasons. Cooperation and knowledge sharing were not luxuries. They were survival imperatives. In understanding the depth of social learning among early humans, we glimpse the origins of culture, strategy, and the complex intelligence that allowed our species to endure and eventually dominate an unpredictable world. Looking back at the survival strategies of early humans, we uncover lessons that resonate far beyond the Pleistocene. Their world was one of scarcity, unpredictability, and constant challenge. Conditions that demanded resilience, creativity, and an acute awareness of the environment. Each adaptation, each innovation, and each carefully observed behavior reveals the roots of human ingenuity and our capacity to overcome adversity. One of the most striking lessons is the importance of flexibility. Humans did not cling to a single food source or a fixed strategy. They observed, experimented, and adjusted their approaches based on what the environment allowed. From mastering fire to exploiting overlooked nutritional resources, early humans demonstrated that survival often hinges not on brute strength, but on adaptability and foresight. Collaboration and knowledge sharing emerge as equally critical lessons. Survival was not the achievement of a single individual, but the product of collective effort. The careful communication of insights, the passing down of survival strategies, and the division of labor within. Communities ensured that knowledge endured beyond any one lifespan. These early social structures laid the groundwork for culture, education, and the deep cognitive networks that define humanity today. Another enduring lesson is the power of observation. Early humans read the landscape with meticulous attention, anticipating animal behavior, weather patterns, and seasonal changes. This ecological intelligence allowed them to predict challenges and capitalize on opportunities, demonstrating that keen perception and patience can be as vital as any tool or weapon. Finally, their story reminds us that scarcity often drives innovation. constraints forced humans to experiment, innovate, and explore possibilities that might have otherwise remained undiscovered. Their successes were rooted in creativity, ingenuity, and an unyielding drive to endure, offering insights not only into human evolution, but into the timeless strategies that enable life to persist under pressure. By reflecting on these lessons, we gain a deeper appreciation for the resourcefulness and resilience of our ancestors, qualities that continue to shape humanity's story even in our modern world. The world 700,000 years ago was a crucible where survival demanded brilliance as much as strength. Glaciers carved the earth, seasons turned with merciless speed, and scarcity was the rhythm of life. Yet through all of it, humanity endured, not by overpowering nature, but by understanding it. Each discovery, each adaptation, each spark of fire was a defiant gesture against extinction. In the dim glow of a Pleistocene hearth, small groups of humans gathered, their faces illuminated by flame and determination. They had learned to turn bones into tools, roots into meals, and landscapes into maps of possibility. Every skill they developed came from necessity, and every success echoed across generations. Survival was never luck. It was intelligence, collaboration, and the refusal to surrender. What makes this story extraordinary is not just that humans survived, but how they did it. They learned to adapt faster than the world could change. They moved with the seasons, read the skies, and transformed the raw chaos of nature into patterns they could understand. It was in these moments, these quiet triumphs against impossible odds, that the foundations of human resilience were built. The same ingenuity that once kept a handful of humans alive beneath ancient skies still beats within us today. Their story is our story, one of endurance, creativity, and connection. They remind us that no matter how hostile the world may seem, survival begins with the courage to observe, to adapt, and to act. And now, looking back across the vast stretch of time, we can ask ourselves, what would you have done to survive in that world? Which skill, which instinct would have been your greatest ally? Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what part of this incredible journey through early human survival resonates most with you, because understanding their story is in many ways understanding our own.